another good question is coming out. The question is, if you say that there's a 300% increase in the overall cost of utilities, and you also have a similar tax legislation that come together, how do you run business?
We cannot run businesses. That's why today I'm not going to talk about other people's businesses, doctor. I will take my business for myself. Today, my company, now today is our salary day. This is the honest truth on media. I'm coming out. So our turnover is in a position where our turnover was not sufficient enough to pay our salaries. So our salary, my company needs, I don't know if these figures been told is correct, but my company needs basically 15 million for wages. Now, I as an entity, I'm not in a position to do so. So I have taken a 36% OD, TOD today to pay my salaries at a percentage of 36%. So now, from here now on, how long can I sustain my company? You just evaluate the situation. So this is what I'm telling the government. Now we managed to, all these years as a government, as business organizations, how we sustained ourselves is, I always believe in, as small organizations, we do not withdraw our profits. All our profits are always in the company. So when a recession hit us, we managed to sustain ourselves because the money was in the company. So now period of 3 years, by liquidating whatever we had to sustain our businesses, now we have nothing more to liquidate. So how can we run our business by getting a TOD at the rate of 36% to pay salaries? If a company is going to go on like this, how long can a company sustain? This is what I mean. Our manufacturing sources, what has been manufactured in December, are still with us because the market has shrunk that badly. The market has shrunk. The consumer market has shrunk by 40%. Now our consumer market being shrunk by 40% means our sales have been dropped by 40%. When our sales are dropped by 40%, whatever we have been manufacturing for the last 3 years are stored with us. So if we cannot liquidate this into cash, how long can we sustain? This is the danger of the SME falling. That was never the case. So wrong decisions taken by the central bank just to control the inflation will create this country into a recession where we will not be able to come out of. If 1 million people go out of work, how on earth can this economy turn back? Just imagine.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another MBA Diary session. Today with us, we have a wonderful speaker who will be talking about SMEs Challenged. So to introduce our speaker for this evening, I'd like to welcome Dr. Rohantha, the pioneer of the MBA Diary series, to welcome her. Doctor, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And we got an amazing personality today. We see her mainly on TV and on different media, fighting for the small, medium enterprises. The founder of Sevin Collections is a pioneer in the Sri Lankan fashion and design industry, believes in introducing the concept of creating and designing manufacturing local brands apart from importing them, and giving business a chance to build brands, grow and export into the international markets. Developed a design and philosophy, and being a mother, her true joy is being her children to inspire her to do more, while work and seriously balancing all these challenges is one of the key priorities of this lady. The chairperson of the Sri Lankan United National Business Alliance, a person who is a real epitome of a female fighting for to do justice for the country so that the country can be on track. And she's not scared to go on media with a total male audience and give her views. And I wish that there'll be more people in the business, male business section can emulate what she's doing for Sri Lanka. I think we are really proud to have you on our program, ladies and gentlemen, Tania Abeyasundara.
Thank you, Dr. Ayubowan. Thank you very much for that inspiring, great, amazing introduction about me. And then I'm so appreciative of whatever that I've been doing, and being appreciated is a huge strength for me to go forward, Doctor. So coming back to the situation in the country, and let me introduce a little of myself before I really go into the situation. As you know, I am an entrepreneur who came into the industry nearly 23 years ago. That's a long time in the industry, coming from a business background, coming into the business sector by myself after marriage, and knowing, willing, and wanting to make a change, create a change within the Sri Lankan fashion industry, because we used to be a destination where we always used to calculatively have finished goods coming into our department stores from everywhere, walks of every country, in different sorts of labels. So this concept was in a way changed to a certain extent by us, my company, me, nearly 25 years back, to say every department store should carry their own label. So I was inspired studying abroad, having an education in a foreign country, knowing what label concept means was a huge thing for me to introduce that. So with that, I came into the fashion industry with what I learned. And today, I think Sri Lankan fashion has grown into a huge market where we have sustained ourselves nearly 80% self-sufficient. So I could say that it itself an achievement. So me as a mother, as a woman, as a business entrepreneur, I was a very content person coming into business in this sort of environment, trying to make a change, making a change, doing a change. But today's situation has caused a calamity, unprecedented situations created by various folks of government that has come into power, that has created this situation, as arose and arised and faced with disaster. So all of these were never caused by entrepreneurs or business entities or none of us. These things were always created by the governing bodies over a period of 75 years in this country, that has caused us to this sort of situation that we are faced today. And sadly, but that is the truth, it is total irresponsible decisions taken by every governing body that has come into this country in trying to govern with correctively, has been a failure, because of the policies that has been made throughout has been never in favor of the country but themselves. So that is the saddest part, being a Sri Lankan entrepreneur today facing this sort of situation. So me as an entrepreneur, I am proud to say that from what I started 24 years ago, what I could call this was a baby of mine, because this was a dream of mine, because I love fashion. I love creating something out of nothing. That inspired me to become today. And then that of course has given me the strength. My children, my family, my husband, all of these people have been a huge pillar behind me. So this strength was a courage that has given me the courage to stand out today as an individual in talking the truth is for the simple reason I believe truth, the ability to understand and sustain within your capacity, that will bring out the exact the thing what you want to be. I mean, as entrepreneurs, as students, as anybody in the world today, I mean, creativity and believing in yourself, believing that anything is capable is what would drive you to become you. So that is something we have to keep in mind. Government policies, businesses, everything should be made to for sustainability within the situation. I mean, within the situation, you have to take lucrative changes. I mean, correct decisions, harsh decisions, but correct decisions, but not decisions that would create a calamity where sustainability will be forced to be suppressed. And that's exactly what today's economical condition has become. Forcibly suppressed the economy to curtail, to control inflation that was created by all governing body. I mean, the debt that we have taken in view of the people of this country in making or in trying to do something better towards the country. So all these debts that has been taken for the betterment of the country has never been utilized for the betterment of the country. It has been utilized for a portion of it is been utilized for development, but good 75% has been utilized it for corruption. I could clearly say bottom line is the corruption political system that we are in. It has caused us to be this today. We don't have to be this today. We are a beautiful country surrounded only by 21 million people. That is a very small segment of people where we have to uphold. And our people, our community is an intelligent community, a community that could understand and grow and are used to adjusting to a situation. But adjusting to a situation and forcing to be adjusted to a situation is two different things. Now we are being forced to be adjusted to a situation for a problem that we never caused. And today the country's GDP that stood at 52% from the SME has gone down tremendously and brought down tremendously, forcibly trying to control inflation. I mean, controlling inflation are a common thing in every countries that has faced this sort of situation. But when you are trying to control inflation in a country of this magnitude, you have to be very, very, very careful, because our country is not rich enough. Our country, the central bank itself, was the body that was bankrupt. Because of the central bank was bankrupt, it called the country bankrupt. Realistically talking, the country was never bankrupt. If the country was bankrupt, we could not stand on our feet today this magnitudely and afford to live our life even this comfortably. So that shows, just because of the government and the central bank was bankrupt, it had the courage to go out there and just call ourselves bankrupt. By putting ourselves bankrupt, we created a platform for the international forum to swallow us. And that exactly what has happened. We have been swallowed by internationally for their own benefits and for not our own doing. I mean, this itself becomes a crazy, unorthodox situation, and it is very unprecedented. You can never. I mean, just imagine a governor sits on the seat, comes in, and next day he calls the country bankrupt. I mean, we have a parliament, we have an institute to govern the country. It was never put to the body to ask, call for a vote, or it was never even thought of. I mean, within a period of a small span, a 24-hour of, I'm not exactly sure of the time period. And today we have been faced to a situation where our businesses are collapsing, and especially the SMV. I represent the SMV. I am proud to be chairing a alliance that is being combined with all bodies of this country. Every industry body is a part of my organization. So I'm very proud to be a part of that and to be chairing a body of that nature. But but giving me the courage to stand out and go forward is the only reason is that I am also facing the same calamity, because I am a SMV who up to now has nearly 600 employers working under me. And our monthly income does not, it's not sufficient today to balance our overheads. For the simple reason, the policies taken by the government, the policies taken by the governing body, the policies taken by the central bank has created this vacuum in our system. Today, we as SMV are faced a situation where 20% of the businesses have been shut down, and nearly another 20% of the businesses are on the verge of shutting down, and companies are like, some companies of our magnitude who has managed to sustain for the last 3.5 years has now been pushed to a situation where we are also facing the same calamity where the other SMVs have been faced, because of the bank interest going up unorthodoxly, unprecedentedly. The bank interest, what was 1 digit, from 9%, suddenly it has gone up to 26% on a normal loan, and on a TOD, a temporary overdraft, it goes up to 36%. Now just imagine how on earth can you run an organization borrowing to pay your salaries at 36%, because you are not even making that sort of profit. So and then the taxes have gone up, and the taxes that we pay are not the taxes on our profit, but the taxes on our turnovers. Now when we pay a turnover tax, how on earth can we pay the utility bills? Even we have to pay the utility bills what 300% today's if you were to evaluate now 300% exceeding a utility bill, 300% exceeding on your bank interest, 300% exceeding on your all your expenses have taken us into boiled us down into a position where the percentage, 20-30% profit margin what we made is not enough to sustain ourselves any longer. Now the government in this position should understand 4.5 million workforce that is being held by the SMV are in huge danger, huge calamity, in a huge drowning situation. I urged the government last time also, you are trying to build new ships. You should be saving the sick that is been shrinking now. I mean, we are being drowned. We are being put into a situation where we no longer can sustain ourselves. If the government does not bring about policies that can help us to grow, help us to sustain ourselves further, we will be put to a situation. This country will be in a worse situation than it is today. Now, the governor itself has told us the dollar is being in a form. I mean, our rupee is in a stable situation, and the dollar has been matched and been controlled to a level. I mean, we got to understand these are just numbers and figures. The fact is that the dollar has not been controlled. The dollar has been forcibly suppressed because we are not in a situation right now. Our market, we don't pay any loans. Our government loans have been stopped. Then the remittance that is coming into the country is coming in. Then the bond money that is coming into the country, who has been in all these offshore accounts are coming into the country. So in a way, we are getting legal, illegal funds coming into the country in a way, in a methodical way that is legal. So that's all fine. But the governor has to understand suppressing the economy possibly is not going to affect the economic growth, but destroying the economy without you not knowing it's been destroyed. So at this point of view, as a business entity, what I believe, the government should be taking decisions, should be taking steps to protect the SME, to protect the industries, and to make this industry. No country in the world has ever become successful by suppressing an economy or becoming an import oriented economy. Now we are a 90% import oriented economy. Our imports are always more than our exports. So if a country is importing more than our exports, to close up the deficiency, we have to borrow from somewhere. So that has what the government has been doing for a period of so many years, from what we started to what we are now. So the government needs to understand to change the system. We have been urging the government. Policies made today will affect the policies for tomorrow. Policies created today will affect the country's development for tomorrow. For that, we need long-term policies. For now, long-term policies are not the solution. We need immediate policies. Immediate policies for the SMEs. The solution is cutting down the bank interest and letting the SMEs to survive in a way, bringing down the bank interest. Yes, it's good, but they have to look at the wider picture. Wider picture is we are being swallowed and hollowed into a position, but has been created for the last 3.5 years. Now the government has to give us a way out of this decision, at least by freezing moratorium for a period of a smaller period of time, at least a temporary of 1 year to 1.5 years, stopping the Parata execution law for a period of 1 year or 1.5 years, giving these companies working capital. Now today, different parts of loans have been approved into private sectors of the banks. But you try getting a loan from any of these banks, you cannot, because they want people who are not in the crib. They want people who the businesses are being properly sustaining and properly running. They want companies that are okay. Now today, in this country's situation created by the central bank, can you find a handful of, other than a handful of companies, can you find any company that is not in the crib? So if you are to look at companies not in the crib and try to give working capital or loans to come out of the situation, it will never happen. For this, the government, right now, this is what I'm saying, you need decisions right now. The government has to intervene. Government has to step in and take a decision of controlling the immediate situation, asking, a circular being sent to all these banks of stopping the Parata execution for a period of 1.5 years, stopping all moratoriums or freezing moratoriums for a period of 1.5 years, and giving them working capital where these businesses evaluate. We are not asking the government to just go ahead blindly give us. You can always evaluate a business. That is why the government is there. That is why you take help from the bank. You can always evaluate to say that how these businesses have come down. If it is from a period of, we say, 1.5 years or 2 years, then it is not the doing of the company, but the doing of the government policies that has been taken that has forced us into this situation. Then these companies should be taken out of and helped to sustain. But if you are looking at companies that has, mismanaged themselves before 2020, then that is understood. You don't need to help companies of this magnitude. Those you can call mismanagement. But any other company after 2020 or 21, beginning of 21 has fallen into problem, that is the wrong decisions taken by the government. So these companies has to be helped tremendously. So as organizations or as institutes or as any forum or any forum or any body that is responsible towards the economy should be giving the government advice in protecting this situation, not drowning the situation further. Now, whatever the decisions that is being taken today are drowning. I mean, we always call ourselves the IMF policies. IMF policies are, IMF is also a lending body. They will make policies for their benefit. So as a government, we should understand the critical conditions of the situation. And then we have to put forward to the IMF, if we do not have for immediate solutions in protecting the SMV's immediate problem, we would not be able to sustain as a country, even to borrow the loans borrowed to be repaid. So these are huge pictures in a small box. Government needs to look into taking decisions immediately. These decisions has to be lucratively enough to sustain any organization. Sadly, but it's very sad to say that our decisions have always been taken for corrupting political situation. Even to today, we have been urging the government make the system transparent. Why should any business entity be interacted with any political body? All these ministers are not here to be interacted with business entities or for that matter anybody. They should be here to be making policies and decisions for the properment of the betterment of the country. But today these are being twisted, turned, and driven for their benefits and not for our benefits. So this is the sad part. We put a government in power, we put ministers in power, we put people in power in thinking, hoping this country will be led and taken into a situation where we will benefit. End of the day, a handful of people benefit out of an entire situation, and they make it global for their own benefit. Even up to today, all decisions have been taken thinking globally and thinking within a smaller forum. That shouldn't be the case. Today, we are opening up the market into bringing down all these closed items. Okay, the market needs to sustain, but when we are opening the market, we have to be realistical of our real situation. The real situation is we are, the country is not bankrupt, but the central bank is bankrupt, the government is bankrupt. So if the government and the central bank is bankrupt, the government and the central bank has to think of a way of, putting or bringing in the money that is within the country or in offshore accounts in a proper way, where the banks will be financially stable enough to support the institutes or borrowing entities, and the interest has to come down where the SMVs will be helped. But instead of doing all this, if the government is always looking at the possibility opening up the market into bringing down finished goods or finished unnecessary things that is really necessary at the moment, then you are making a huge mistake. Today, even I'm not blaming the importers. I'm not pointing fingers at the import. Even they have to survive, but their survival is looking at a smaller forum. But survival of the SMB is a bigger forum. We are industries that are being created within the country to support the country's economical status, we have created industries. We have taken the risk. We have kept our houses. We have kept our lands. We have kept our own finance as collateral in putting out a business and taking the risk in supporting the government's economy. So then the government has a responsibility to support these SMVs. Like you take any part of the developed countries, any part in the world, first priority will be supporting the SMV and not letting them fall. I mean, mind you, we talk about globalization, we talk about global economy, we talk about everything about global, but we only talk about what is beneficiary for them towards the globalization, but we are talking the right things of the globalization towards SMV. So why is the government always making the wrong decisions in trying to kill an economy when an economy can be pulled forward, brought forward, and done the correct thing. Sadly, but it is very sad to see as an entrepreneur. I have voiced out boldly because I, as an entity, I believe if you're doing the correct thing, you got to know, fear nobody. So I believe as an organization, as an entity, I am transparent enough to not to fear to tell the truth. So if the government is also not fearful enough, if fearless, they should be transparent enough for anybody to be accessible to anything. Today, the government is not transparent. Today, the government is never wanting to be transparent because they are having a bigger agenda. They have a bigger picture where the people have been always kept in the dark for their own benefits. So this shouldn't be the case. This should be, we as forums, we as business entities, we always try, we always want the better for the country. We have no politics. I have no politics. Our organization has no politics. We are for the economy of the country. We are for the SME. We want policies to be made, proper policies, long-term, short-term, proper policies where we could have development in creating new business opportunity, creating new job opportunities. Today, our biggest asset is our youth. Today, the youth is fleeing like flies for the simple reason they just don't want to. It can be any persons of any nature. If they have a little bit of experience in trying to get some sort of opportunity in another country, they would flee without even batting an eyelid. Should that be the case? Have this country come to that? Today, the youth is our wealth. If the wealth is being lost in the country, what are we going to do as a nation? The government has to think. Government has to act fast because SMV is a forum that could create new opportunities for the youth. We can create new ventures. We don't have to look into things that things of what can't be done. We don't have to do big things, but start small, start somewhere, trying to turn this into an industrial economy in a smaller way that could create new job opportunities in every sector. I mean, take the garment industry now. I always say, take Thailand as a whole. Now, Thailand is a self-sufficient garment industry. Now, people are not always looking into big exports, but their household manufacturing goods that has been manufactured would be sold in a marketplace where we as Sri Lankans go buy in bulk to come back to Sri Lanka to sell in our shops. So these are opportunities created in a smaller scale, but yes, dollars are coming into the country. So these foreigners, we as foreigners, we go as business entity, then for industry, like, hospitality industry will gain exposure. By gaining exposure into the hospitality industry, we could have turned this into other industries, other avenues can be created. Same way, there are so many, the IT industry. We can't always think of a labor-oriented industry. No, we have to be realistic. Today, our economy is 90% labor-oriented industry. So that shouldn't be the case. We have to turn our economy into an industrial economy where we could be economically strong enough to, fight with the rest of the world. For that to do so, we have to take necessary steps in trying to create a situation where we will be globally accepted. Now, today, if you were to take our biggest dollar earning machine is the garment industry, where we earn about $5.5 billion. And same way, the industry I represent is the garment industry, where we are a local body. We create for the local market. We manufacture for the local market. So we have stopped $2.5 billion going out of the country. Now, if you were to take the tea industry, it's about $2.5 million. IT industry is about $1.5 $5 million. And then we have foreign remittance workers, about $600 million. Then if you were to take the other industries in whole, the niche industry is about $2.5 billion. Now, if you were to calculate all these, it's about $12 billion. But our expenditure is about $19 billion. So that $8 billion deficiency is always there. So what we do is we go borrow. Why are we borrowing? Because we are not earning enough to self-control our own economy. So how can economy go forward? I mean, realistically, these are not rocket science. You don't have to be an economist in a huge way to understand this. I always say, running a company, running a country is a bigger version of running a company. Now, if I am a company owner, I would always budget my budget before I pay my wages and before I go in for the next month's projection. And I will always have my monthly earnings to the expenditure to see where I have gone wrong. Now, if I evaluate that, and if I know where I have gone wrong, if I as a chairperson, if I do not rectify the mistake that is being created, what is going to happen in a period of couple of years, or not even a couple of years, I won't even be able to sustain my business for a couple of months. It is going to drown. So I have to understand where I'm going wrong and, calculatively make changes to benefit the company. I can't just go and spend whatever I earn is not my money. I have to realize out of this is only a very thin percentage is mine. Same way the government has to realize the money that comes in, the taxes that is being taken are not for government expenditure only. These taxes should be given back to the country. Why do we pay taxes? Why taxes are being collected in the other countries? Taxes are being collected for 5 things. First thing is to, the economical growth of the country, putting back into the infrastructure, putting back into the development of the country. Secondly, for the health purpose. Thirdly, for education. Fourthly, for national security. Fifthly, to running of the government. But in our source of economical standard, firstly, it is the running of the government. Secondly, it is to the country's protect the country's well-being. Thirdly, and fourthly, fifthly, everything comes after that. So what is the tax money mostly utilized? To run the country, to run the government. So these policies have to be changed. So we have to rectify the real problem. Real problem is from the top. We can't cut the root to protect the bark, the leaves. So if the tree is too big, we have to start shredding the tree, not cutting the roots. Now in this government, what they're trying to do is to protect the leaves that are the roots, and they don't realize the tree is dying and it will dry gradually before you know. So these are little things, though it feels little, these are huge mistakes done by the government. So I can go on and on and on and on without, it's like a non-stop machine. But realistically, as SMEs, as entrepreneur, as a human being, forget about all that. As a human being, humanly, we have to understand the situation. We have to humanly think SME is the economical backbone of the country. If we collapse, the economical circle will collapse. Banks will collapse. Government entities will not have the financial capability of sustaining themselves, because we are the biggest taxpayers in the country. We are the people who pay most amount of VAT into the country's economy. We are the people who are having the most number of labor force. We are the people who contribute the biggest amount to the country's GDP. So taken all this into consideration, if the government does not act today, there won't be a tomorrow. Thank you very much, gentlemen, ladies, and whoever who was listening to me. I am urging any forum of intelligent people, whoever who was there, we urge the government, please do not kill the economy for your own benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tania. And I think it was a brilliant address, in my view, from all the MBA diaries that we had this year. I think this was one of the best diaries that we have had. We need honest, we need straightforward people like you if we have to actually make this economy turn around, and it's fantastic. I just have 2 questions for you, which is coming through from the clientele who is there. Number one, they're asking you, given your outstanding share of voice from the business community, which I think is the first time we have heard in Sri Lanka. What is your view of this new act which is coming in on this area of stipulating? It's called the regulated broadcasting services, establishing a broadcasting regulatory commission to regulate the broadcasting services.
To be very honest, Doctor, now that itself is a huge question mark of another corruption formulating in the country. Why you will never be able to voice out what is wrong. So they will be allowed to do whatever they want, and we are supposed to keep our mouth shut. So is this correct? I mean, voice of freedom is the most common, normal thing anywhere in the world. And if we are not allowed to be voiced out in the correct manner of trying to tell the government when you're wrong and when you're correct, we are not here. We are not politicians. We are not here to support any political party. We as entities, we always want the government's transparency in bringing down proper economical policies. Now, bringing an act like this is going to control the control the entire governing system by suppressing your vocal freedom as well. I seriously believe this is wrong, and this shouldn't be not allowed. And I don't know, if there is a law above our system, the law should prevent the system prevailing this.
Another good question is coming out. The question is, if you say that there's a 300% increase in the overall cost of utilities, and you also have a similar tax legislation that come together, how do you run business?
We cannot run businesses. That's why today I'm not going to talk about other people's businesses, Doctor. I will take my business for myself. Today, my company, now today is our salary day. This is the honest truth on media I'm coming out. So our turnover is in a position where our turnover was not sufficient enough to pay our salaries. So our salary, my company needs, I don't know if these figures been told is correct, but my company needs basically 15 million for wages. Now, I as an entity, I'm not in a position to do so. So I have taken a 36% OD, TOD today to pay my salaries at a percentage of 36%. So now, from here now on, how long can I sustain my company? You just evaluate the situation. So this is what I'm telling the government. Now we managed to, all these years as a as business organizations, how we sustained ourselves is, I always believe in, as small organizations, we do not withdraw our profits. All our profits are always in the company. So when a recession hit us, we managed to sustain ourselves because the money was in the company. So now, period of 3 years, by liquidating whatever we had to sustain our businesses, now we have nothing more to liquidate. So how can we run our business by getting a TOD at the rate of 36% to pay salaries? If a company is going to go on like this, how long can a company sustain? This is what I mean. Our manufacturing sources, what has been manufactured in December, are still with us, because the market has shrunk that badly. The market has shrunk. The consumer market has shrunk by 40%. Now our consumer market being shrunk by 40% means our sales have been dropped by 40%. When our sales are dropped by 40%, whatever we have been manufacturing for the last 3 years are stored with us. So if we cannot liquidate this into cash, how long can we sustain? This is the danger of the SME falling. That was never the case. So wrong decisions taken by the central bank just to control the inflation will create this country into a recession where we will not be able to come out of. If 1 million people go out of work, how on earth can this economy turn back? Just imagine.
We 100% agree with you, ma'am. But don't you think that we have to, we will have to undergo some hardships in the short term to recover in the long term?
Absolutely, we are willing, and I'm the first person willing to undergo any hardship in trying to bring the country forward. But the hardships that are undergoing should be not that like I said, you don't start from the bottom, you start from the top. Start cutting down from the top. Today, let me see any minister or any government body cutting their expenditure in trying to control the country's economical standard. Why are they only asking the bottom to cut down? Are they losing on any of their luxuries just for the sake of the country? No. So then what is the amount of responsibility are they taking in trying to protect the economical status of the situation? Today we have a huge cabinet. Today we have ministers and ministerial positions and government institutes that are not even necessary at a calamity situation of this nature. Set an example before you ask to be setting an example.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tania. And I think today was a real power pack MBA diary. You gave a fantastic view with facts and data, very well grounded to the reality of Sri Lanka. And I think this is the kind of leadership that Sri Lanka requires. And the MBA students who have listened to you would really get an understanding of the kind of strong leadership that the country require and how they need to fashion themselves, not only academically, but to understand how they need to give leadership through behavior. Thank you very much, Tania. Over to you, Ruth.
I just want to thank the forum. I want to thank the doctor for giving me this opportunity to share my views with educationists and people who understand the situation. And the bottom of all, doctor, I just want to emphasize one thing. I am not against any political party. We are just against the system. Please change the system. Yeah. Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much.
Ruth?
And with this, we have reached the end of today's MBA Diary session. I'd like to thank everybody who's logged in for their presence and participation on today's power-packed MBA Diary. And before we draw to a close, Tania, I'd like to thank you once again. I know you're very busy, but you're here with us on our platform to share your insights and your experience as an entrepreneur. Thank you so much for being with us. And I'd also like to thank our IT team for the technical support extended during this session. And before we wrap up, for our industry partners, our internship program is very strong and well structured. So if you do have any internship opportunities, do send it our way. And with this, I'd like to wish you a good day, a good afternoon, and a good evening from wherever you're joining in. Till the next session, take care.